Well, Jimmy, let me jump out of here real quick. The net will start in about 10 minutes, so I'm going to clear and stand by for net. We'll talk to you in a bit. KD5LQD, KH5UMR.
Alrighty, KD5LQD on the big 88.
ARRLNTS Net Mountley at 6:30 p.m. W5FC. W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask if anyone needs to use your computer before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet. I'll take that as a no. This is, again, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray KQ5 IPX. My name is still Tom, and I'll be your next control station again. But this time for the DAR Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. calling concerning the subject of astronomy. The purpose is called every. Become more familiar with nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateur and interested in this topic of research, information, comments, and suggestions to this net. Station loses priority or emergency traffic against the net at any time by using the pro sign break, and your call sign very interesting asking, is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is addressed to net. Please do not transmit without directions from World ID Net Control. That will be stations are reminded to ID its this transmission. This weekly net operates on the frequency with a field from 1.9er. Second, the Echo Link are also powerful using the world famous W5FC-R station ID or Echo Link code 37247. Tonight's topic: astronomy charts. Pictures, live audio video links are available online. Just go to the club website, which is whiskey5friedchicken.org. That's W5FC. Subscribe, try to think of two things at the same time. Right now, for Sleep List, remember to tell others about this Skynet. Yeah, I'm also trying to do these trees and the headphones and everything. All amateur operators are welcome to use any amateur radio equipment to participate in the season. Tonight's net is divided into several parts. It is 90 minutes long. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomy Society of Dallas events where and when you look through the telescope. National Space Society, the topic of the evening was space exploration, space history, Constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent discoveries, physical satellite pictures over the next couple of days, and astronomical Q&A and study round. Will we get to all of them? Who knows? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But before we get to do any of this, we have to take check-ins. So the first thing to do is take short time check-ins. If those are sounds like you, please come with your call sign. Phonetically, please. Your name, very simply. Short time only.
This is KC5 MPO Jamie Bubble, downtown Dallas.
Kilo India 5, Papa Golf Mike, Travis, short time. Kilo Juliet 5, Echo Union Uniform Victor, Bob, Uptown.
Okay, I've got KC5 MPO Jamie and Dallas Mobile. If I can TGM, that's Travis, he's somewhere out there, and KJ5 UC Bob, uptown Dallas. Anyone else short time? Okie dokie, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and ask those three stations. If any of you have anything you'd like to bring to the net now before you experience the ether, please come to the call. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and get started with general check-in. Please come with your general check-in over there. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. General check.
This is Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5, BLT Bill in Garland.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
Kilo 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Palmer's Branch.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Milky Way, more precisely, Mesquite.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia, somewhere near the moons of Jupiter.
This is Alpha Golf, Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas, AG9 Energy.
Kilo, Golf, 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Dallas.
November 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill in Irving.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie, Delta. Hi, still Tom. This is Cody in Dallas.
Okay, that's pretty good. Bunch of check-ins. I did miss one, so if you do not hear your call, I'll need you to check in on the next round. I've got KC5 to MTO, James. Oh, wait a minute, I got those guys. I got W5DLC, Bill and Carlin. A5 JDW, John and Coppell. AA5 AH, Robert Charleston. WB5 OZL, Brandon Dallas. KC5 Whiskey, Victor Lima, James Charleston, K5ZGL. This is Phil Farmers Branch, NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, K5JHA, Chaz, somewhere in the Milky Way, over to ND5F, Virginia, he's near the moons of Jupiter, double park next to a monolith, AG9er, SG, that's Antonio in Dallas, AG5 2FR, Jacob in Dallas, N5BD Bill in Irving, A5 MCD, Cody over in Dallas. So, I know I missed at least one additional check-in. Please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transferred.
This is Kilo, India 5, Zulu, Oscar, Echo, Tommy from Palm Springs.
That's my missing man, KI5ZOE, Tommy in Palm Springs. I've got you checked in. Let me hop over to Echolink. I'll take Echolink now. If you'd like to join us, please come with the call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Echolink only. I will give you a press on.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo, Tango X-ray Telly, in point.
And we picked up K5KTX from Kelly over in point. Okay, one more round. Before we get started, any mode, anywhere, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name and your transmission. Okay, well, that's it there. We'll go ahead and get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening? If AM Astronomical Space for us, general interest in AM. Please come to the call now.
This is WV5OZL.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Okay, we got two. I got WV5OZL, Tony, and then, I'm sorry, Brenda, and then NT5 Tony. So, Brenda, go ahead with your announcement.
Thank you. This is WV5OZL. There's a new exhibit that just opened at the Perot Museum, downtown Dallas. It opened yesterday, and it is about Mars. An exhibit at the Perot Museum of Nature and Science opens Friday and shows how NASA is gathering information from the rover and helicopter on Mars. Mission Mars Perseverance rover includes replicas of NASA's Perseverance rover and Ingenuity helicopter. You can get up close and personal with full-scale models of a few of these machines that are working on Mars. The exhibit also includes sounds, videos, and pictures gathered by the two, as well as a full-scale model of a launch system now being developed for a potential future mission to bring samples back to Earth. So it runs until, I think, September 2nd, and it is free with museum admission. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Very good. Thank you, Brenda. Additional information is on the Museum.org website. I'm just looking at it right now. Looks very interesting. Thank you for that information. Tony, NT5 PM, what do you have for us?
Well, I'll give that exhibit a chance. Of course, I love the Hall of Minerals and the big dinosaurs there at the Perot Museum, but maybe Mars is going to be awesome too. I don't know yet. But in any case, tonight's Afterglow movie is Real Genius from 1985. It is a moral imperative that you have some popcorn ready. Watch the movie or just bring your fond memories to our net tonight at about 10:30 local time, plus or minus 5 minutes. Of course, there are no, it's the second Sunday, so there's no meeting on the air and no Racy's Friending Net tomorrow, but there is a second Monday coming up, so our topic will be MCOM 101. This is our non-denominational public service communications net. Any ham interested in public service communications is welcome to check in to MCOM 101 this Monday at 7 p.m. on this repeater. And of course, near and dear to my heart, please don't forget that our Dallas Amateur Radio Club lecture and lab this month gives you a chance to build a really useful 2-meter fox hunting antenna. I use one of these all the time, both for distant repeaters and... Come on out and join us on the morning of Saturday, March 23rd, 10 o'clock a.m. at the Dallas Medical Center. It will be easy, and you'll leave with a really useful and other WC.org. Whiskey5.org. Excuse me, Whiskey5 friedchicken.org. Anyway, NT5PM, back to net.
All right, thank you, Tony. By the way, you may want to check some connection somewhere. You're cutting in and out, but we got the gist of everything that you mentioned. Additional information, of course, as Tony mentioned, is found at w5fc.org, Whiskey5 Fried stuff. There's the usual announcements. I think we can give you a bit more, but I guess. Don't forget, AMSAT, Amateur Radio Satellite Group, has actually 3 nets available in the Dallas area. One of them actually originates in Houston. You can get more information about that at amsatnet.com. But they do have a live transmission that they do Tuesday to 8 p.m. You can listen over on Echolink, or go to Echolink under AMSAT, or you can go to amsatnet.com and let's find them live there. Dallas AMSAT net has the local net is available both in East and West. Each one here is on this repeater at Tuesday, also at 8 p.m. On this repeater, Tom N5HYT is control on our website. And the difference between those 2 nets, the one in Houston and the one here in Dallas, is, of course, Houston is the national net. The one here in Dallas is check-ins and questions. Houston one does not. It's information sharing net only. So if you have actual questions, something that you'd like to know having to do with amateur satellites, this is the one to go to. Now, there's a second AMSAT at West every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Arlington computer. That's at 147.140 megahertz details. Well, with a positive offset. DARC has a bunch of nets Monday evenings at 7 p.m. All of these nets are true at 7 p.m. on Monday. We have the Ham-Fix net, which is pretty net. Second week is MCOM 101, which Tony mentioned. That is our net coming up this week, this Monday. Then we have the second fixing of Ham Fixing. That's on the third week. Fourth week is EastNet, where we go beyond Ham Radio. That one's run by. And the fifth week is a surprise net. Don't know what it'll be, and it'll probably be a surprise to us as well. But on-air participation is always operation. Tuesday evening, on Entropy shows. Fridays is Search City Simulation at 8. Now to learn about emergency radio communication to certain regions. Individual operators of KF5CRH Lissa is net control. Visit the most from City of the Universe every Friday, Search City. Saturdays are the night, starting with TechNet from 7 to 8 o'clock, followed by Skynet at 9 o'clock for 10:30, and then 10:30 is the afternoon movie. I'll give you some info on it a little bit. Daily is the ARRL National Traffic Station Net. If you want to be involved with a formalized net and learn about passive traffic, one of the earliest things that is the radio, you can come by at 6:30 p.m. and participate at 6:30 p.m. every night of the week here on the repeater. By the way, it's a trading net, so you can do no wrong. Well, legal wrong, but everything else is training. So don't worry about it. Now, I do have a little bit of information on the afterglow net. For tonight, Gary Hathaway was very clever. He managed his job at Microsoft and had, through the work of others, created the most dangerous and frustrating operating system in the universe. Even the Air Force found this natural operating features to upset entire adversaries' economies from simplicity to spiral. The simple word updating was just a different word for obliteration. But that wasn't where it ended. He was also a physicist of some renown and developed a liquid laser. No one knew what that was, but he needed additional brain power to make this weapon. Sometimes tropical drink works for the government. Join us for the comedy Real Genius, 55 tonight at 10:30 p.m. I'm apparently the only person in the universe that did not see the movie until yesterday. So my comments will be completely off the cuff because I don't see the one. You can keep up with all the DARC events and activities by going to the Hub website, w5fc.org. Okay, do we have any additional check-ins or any questions? Please give your call now.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey with a quick comment.
K5ADW, John, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I guess this may go without saying, but I just want to remind everybody that if you do what you're supposed to do at 2 o'clock Sunday morning, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all that stuff will be coming up an hour later than it normally would as we set our clocks ahead and lose that hour. K5JDW.
Yes, indeed. Don't forget, you're going to lose an hour of sleep. So just remember that. I'm taking tomorrow off, so I get to sleep lucky. Okay, next up is Section 2, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where when you look through a telescope, they see some notes from Chaz, KF5J, so I'm just sort of that guy. Chaz, KF5J, looking for heaven for it.
Why, thank you, Tom. This is KF5JHA. And you know, since the movie has popcorn involved, all of you out there understand it also is a military operation. Really, it is. There's a lot of colonels involved. If you don't get that joke, I don't know what. Okay, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, March the 22nd. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is, one of them will be Gary Carter and other task members talking about telescopes and eyepieces. Saturday night public observing stations continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Public Observing Station. Now, on the second Saturday of the month, that would be tonight, stargazing is held at Frisco. Now, is there anybody at Frisco that would like to make a report? Come now with your call sign if you'd like to do so. Well, it's kind of a long string to get from here to Frisco, so maybe that's the reason why. But there's another reason. It could have been canceled, not because of the weather, but because of something else that I'll talk about later on. Okay, so to check the Texas Astronomical Society website out, go to texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5, JHA Vector, Net Control. Tom, it's all back to you.
Thank you, Jazz. Let's see here. Next up is National Space Society events and activities. This one handled by Bill and 5TV. Bill, what do you got for us from the National Space Society in North Texas?
Hello, Tom. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director and member at large of the National Space Society North Texas chapter. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, a nonprofit group, you can reach me at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.NET. National Space Society's March meeting is tomorrow, Sunday, March the 10th. We normally meet on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting will start at 3:30. The presentation will start at 4 p.m. tomorrow. The location is Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving. This is at the northwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road, across the highway from Irving Mall. There's also a Zoom presentation. It's a hybrid meeting. So if you'd like to listen to it, you can send me an email tonight, please, and I will send you the information on how you can sign up for our free Zoom meeting. The presenter tomorrow will be NASA Solar System Ambassador Alejandro Arroyo CLIPS program. That's CLPS. That's the Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. CLIPS is intended to kickstart public-private partnerships for companies looking to send landers to the moon. It's already achieved its historic first IM-1 mission, and it's set to change the face of the space industry from one of satellites to one of a moon program. It's for the commercial space industry. Again, if you'd like to see that meeting, come on by as a visitor to our group. We have actually several hams that are members of our group. And some of them have renewed today their membership. Thank you for those of you who are listening. Again, there's additional things going on this month. The last Friday of every month, we have a social event we call the Space Rendezvous. This is at 6 p.m., and so this month it'll be Friday, March the 29th, last Friday of the month, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Cheddar's Restaurant in Irving. This is along Highway 635 on the eastbound service road on the south side of 635, right east of MacArthur, between MacArthur and Bush Turnpike. There's only one Cheddar's restaurant in this area, so you can find it with a web search really easy. You do not need to be of any membership, any organization to attend. So anybody can come by our event, the Space Rendezvous event at Cheddar's Restaurant in Irving. Then on April the 6th, which is a Saturday, there is a space event at the Irving South Library. And the National Space Society will be there. And then, of course, there's the April 7th event at the Frontiers of Flight Museum and the April 8th eclipse. I think that's it. You can also reach me at n5bb@arrl.net. for the National Space Society North Texas chapter. This is N5BB. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Bill, for all that information. Does anyone need Bill for additional information? Please somebody call him now. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the topics this evening. As in control, I get to pick the topic. This actually came in as an interview this morning, so I stole this information from Space Flight Now, and it has to do with Starship. The third mission is about to go, and they have given a tentative date as of, I believe it was either last night or this morning of March 14th. So I found an article that does discuss this a little bit, as well as what the mission reference would be. So I'm going to go ahead and read this from Spaceflight Now, just to give you the lowdown on what's happening. SpaceX may be on the cusp of launching its massive Starship rocket for the third time, potentially as early as next Thursday. In an online update, the company said it's targeting Thursday, March 14th, for the third flight test of Starship pending regulatory approval. While SpaceX did publish a launch time on its website, a live stream post on X, formerly known as Twitter, showed a start time of 7:30 a.m. standard. Coupled with SpaceX starting its that broadcast in about 30 minutes prior to liftoff, just the launch time of approximately 8 a.m. Now that sounds right. The mission continues. SpaceX iterative approach to developing a Starship rocket that includes flying as much as possible and getting through as much of the mission profile as it can. SpaceX is hoping to push a number of boundaries for the vehicle with this flight. On the ship's 28 upper stage, which is going to be launched, for instance, SpaceX aims to test the payload door, conduct a reignition of one or more of the Raptor engines while in space, and conduct a propellant transfer demonstration during the post stage. Being able to demonstrate propellant transfer in space is key not only to SpaceX's future ambitions, but also to NASA's Artemis program. So this flight will perform the transfer within Ship 28. The next big leap will be a ship-to-ship transfer. SpaceX will use to launch several Starships in order to fuel a tanker on orbit. That tanker will then be used to ship that propellant to the human landing system program version of the Starship, which will carry astronauts down to the surface of the moon and back up again. In February, NASA and SpaceX were busily testing docking mechanisms that will allow its Orion spacecraft to dock with the HLS Starship while in lunar orbit. They performed the work at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, the NASA installation where HLS program is based. While this third flight test won't include a payload, SpaceX needs to reach orbit to achieve its stated goals. During the company's talk given earlier this year at Starbase in southern Texas, SpaceX founder Elon Musk explained why they believe Space Starship failed to reach orbit during its second flight test. And he says Flight 2 almost actually made it to orbit. In fact, ironically, if it had a payload, it would have made it to orbit, said SpaceX founder Elon Musk during the company talk earlier this year. The reason that it didn't quite make it to orbit was because we vented the liquid oxygen. The liquid oxygen ultimately led to fire and an explosion. We wanted to vent the liquid oxygen because we normally wouldn't have that oxygen if we had a payload. So ironically, if it had a payload, it would have reached orbit. And so I think we've got a really good shot at reaching orbit on Flight 3. SpaceX noted in Flight 1 announcement that Starship was launched on a tube flight path that would see its target a splashdown in the Indian roughly an hour after liftoff. He says, let's see here. this new flight path enables us to attempt new techniques like in-space engine burns while maximizing public safety. Prior to Wednesday's announcement of Starship's next launch date, SpaceX published a blog post offering some insight into what it learned about the seventh flight test of Starship. It pointed to one of the 33-reactor engines on the Super Heavy booster that failed energetically during the 13-engine pushback burn, which caused the vehicle to explode roughly 3.5 minutes into flight. The most likely root cause for the booster's rapid, unscheduled disassembly was determined to be filter blockage, where liquid oxygen supplied to the engine leading to loss of net pressure. An engine oxidizer turbo pump that eventually resulted in one engine failing in a way that resulted in the loss of the vehicle. SpaceX has since implemented hardware changes inside future booster oxidizer tanks to improve propellant filtration capabilities and refined operations to increase reliability. Addressing this as part of the 17 action items established through the SpaceX-led mishap investigation following OSP-2 on February 26th, the same day, SpaceX published a blog post. The FAA notified the public that it closed the mishap investigation. It outlined 7 corrective actions needed for the Super Heavy booster and 10 for the Starship upper stage. As part of those actions, SpaceX noted that it would introduce new electronic thrust vector control system for Starship's upper stage Raptor engines and improve the speed propellant loading operations prior to launch. What you can read about here is about half the time it would normally take even regular Falcon 9 rocket. Before Starship can fly for the third time, SpaceX will need to receive a license modification from the FAA. For time-scale comparison ahead of the second flight test of Starship, the FAA announced completion of the safety review portion of the launch license evaluation on October 31st, 2023, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service wrapped up its formal consultation on November 14th. That paved the way for the launch license to be issued from the FAA to SpaceX on November 15th. Following the wet dress rehearsal tanking test on October 24th, SpaceX posted a similar update to social media on its most recent one from Wednesday morning. It stated that Starship was ready for its second test flight pending regulatory approval. That was followed by another post on X on November 3rd stating their hopes of launching as soon as mid-November pending regulatory approval. SpaceX next post to X regarding Starship came on November 10th stating Starship preparing to launch as early as November 17th pending regulatory approval. SpaceX confirmed the intended launch date of November 17th once the launch license is formed up with a grid spin actuator on the Super Heavy booster. Given that this is the third flight test of Starship and not nearly as much needed to change between flights 2 and 3 as did between 1 and 2, with exploration of March 14th launch date without having a launch license firmly in hand may prove to be true. However, final regulatory approval is still being determined by the FAA. Folks told Spaceflight Now on Wednesday that it didn't have an update to provide on the progression towards issuing the third flight license. So for now, it and the launch remain pending. So there you have it, information on the Starship. We have a third Starship sitting on the launch pad in South Texas, waiting for approval from the FAA for launch into, they claim orbit. It's not actually orbit. It is suborbital. It will be in space during that time, but it will not make a full orbit completely. So lots of interesting things going on. We'll keep you updated on every new one. So that's what I got from today's article. This is KE5I6 control for the night Skynet. I'll go ahead and ask if there's any additional check-ins or any questions. Please come now as you call time. Phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is
November 5, Scott.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Couldn't reach my foot pedaling. So, but I got 2. I got WB4 MFI, Ted in Dallas, low power, and I've got Clay N50F. Let's see. Next up was up with Jazz K5JHA. So Jazz, you're on again. 5 I.
Thank you, Tom. You know, Tom is also our slide changer on the video version of this. So, Tom, slide number 2, please. This is Jazz KF5JHA, and we call this segment of Skynet Was Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide master, slide number 3. In the 1700s, astronomers were interested in observing and discovering comets. And one French astronomer, Charles Messier, was one of the comet hunters. But he had a problem. He kept mistaking these fuzzy things that were scattered throughout the sky for comets. These fuzzy things did not move compared to the stars, and no one really knew what they were, so they were mostly ignored. But Charles Messier, these fuzzy things were bothersome. Slide master, slide number 4. So Charles Messier decided to write down the location in the sky of these permanent fuzzy things so he would not mistake them for a comet. He first started with a few on his list. Then more were added. Slide master, slide number 5. His friend and assistant, Pierre Mochan, helped Messier to compile the list of these objects as well. Slide master, slide number 6. The first list of 45 of these objects was published in 1774 in the French Academy of Sciences in Paris. Only 17 of these 45 were credited to Messier, and the others had been observed by other astronomers. By 1780, the list had increased to 80 objects. Slide master, slide number 7. In 1784 edition of Constance de Temps, the official yearly publication of the Astronomical Ephemeris in France, a total of 103 objects were published. But through historical research, 7 more objects have been added to this list. So now we recognize a list of 110 Messier objects in the sky. And in the 1700s, it was a list of things not to look at because they were not comets, and astronomers back then did not understand them. Slide master, slide number 8. Now it is a list of, for at least most amateur astronomers, to observe and image nightly. This list contains open star clusters, globular star clusters, elliptical galaxies, spiral galaxies, irregular galaxies, reflection nebulas, emission nebulas, planetary nebulas, and a supernova remnant, and more. Almost sounds like lions and tigers with bears. Slide number 9, please. This list of 110 Messier objects are not scattered evenly across the sky. In fact, there's a time of year when, if you're in the right location on the Earth and the moon is around the new phase, that you can observe all 110 of these objects in just a single night of observing, between sunset to sunrise. That time of year is around the vernal equinox. Location on the Earth that works best is the very southern part of the northern hemisphere. Trying to observe as many of the M objects in one night is called a Messier marathon. Slide master, slide number 10. Back in the early 1980s, I participated in a few Messier marathons. One such Messier marathon, we used a 32-inch telescope at Perkins Observatory in Powell, Ohio. A few more than a dozen of us got to observe 108 of the 110 objects that night. Wow. Slide master, slide number 11. Actually, a year ago, a friend of mine and I, we went down to Big Bend, and he got 106 on one night, I got 103, so that wasn't too bad. Like I said, slide number 11. The further south you go in North America, and the closer the new moon occurs around the equinox, then the higher likelihood you could see all 110 Messier objects in a single night. Since the new moon is before the equinox this year, so tonight, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas is having their Messier Marathon at their dark sky site in Oklahoma. Task members will be trying to see as many of the 110 of those faint fuzzy objects as they can tonight. Slide master, slide number 12. On March the 3rd, the moon was at third quarter phase. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. That's in the early morning sky, isn't it? If you want to wake up early, you can spot it. On March the 10th, the moon is perigee. Oh, wait, that's tomorrow, isn't it? Perigee is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 356,895 kilometers. Also on March 10th, the moon will be at its new phase. Oh, so maybe tomorrow morning you won't be able to see the moon because it's too close to the sun. One more thing. We've already mentioned it. Daylight saving time begins on March the 10th. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. On March the 16th, the moon will be at its first quarter phase. On March the 23rd, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,294 kilometers. The moon will be full on March the 25th, and there will be an eclipse of the moon, and more about that in a little bit. Slide master, slide number 13. So actually, officially, early Sunday morning, just in a few hours, at 2 a.m., we turn our clocks forward by 1 hour to 3 a.m. So it's the beginning of daylight saving time. Yeah, there's no S on it. It's daylight saving time. There has been for some tries in both the Texas legislature and the U.S. legislature to either keep us on standard time or daylight time all year long, but so far no action has happened. Once we turn our clocks to daylight saving time, we'll return to standard time unless there's other legislative action. We'll return to standard time on November the 3rd. That's 2024. Slide master, slide number 14, please. On March the 10th, in the western evening sky, the moon and Mercury will be in conjunction. Might not be able to see it because it's really new moon. Slide master, slide number 15. On March the 13th, in the western evening sky, the moon and Jupiter will be in conjunction. You know, Jupiter's up with the Pleiades star cluster, also known as M45. It'll be a pretty sight. Slide master, slide number 17. On March the 16th, the moon is in conjunction with the minor planet Juno in the southwestern evening sky. Slide master, slide number 18. I guess your finger's getting tired of the clicker button on that slide projector. March the 20th is the moment of vernal equinox and the beginning of spring at 3:50 p.m. Central Daylight Time for the Northern Hemisphere. On this day, we have 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness, and the sun rises directly east and sets directly west. This goes for everywhere on the surface of the Earth. Interesting. Slide master, slide number 19. On March 21st, there's a conjunction of Venus and Saturn in the southeastern morning sky. Twilight is occurring, so you'll probably need binoculars to be able to find both the planets. Venus you can see visually, but Saturn you might need to get your binoculars out to see. Slide master, slide number 20. March 22nd, there's a conjunction of the moon and Juno in the east evening sky. And slide master, slide number 21, please. I've already mentioned this on the evening of March the 24th through the 25th. There's going to be a penumbral eclipse of the moon. The Earth's shadow has two parts, a darker part called the umbra and the lighter part called the penumbra. Around 96% of the moon will go into the penumbra during the eclipse, and the moon's brightness will only be slightly dimmed. The eclipse begins at 11:53 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That's on March 24th. at 2:14 a.m. on March the 25th will be the eclipse maximum, again, with about 96% of the moon inside the penumbra. One side of the moon will appear maybe slightly darker. At 4:32 a.m. Central Daylight Time, the eclipse ends when the moon leaves the penumbra. Slide master, slide number 22. On April the 7th, yep, it's the day before something else that's going to occur, but we'll talk about that one in a moment. On April 7th, there's a conjunction of the moon and the planet Venus in the eastern morning sky. And there's also an occultation of Venus by the moon during the daytime on April the 7th. An occultation occurs when the moon moves in between us and the planet Venus, and the Earth is blocked from being able to see Venus. You may be able to observe this event with just your two eyes, but binoculars would be helpful. Now, be careful not to look at the sun with the binoculars, because the moon and the sun will be kind of close together because of something happening the very next day. The disappearance of Venus occurs at 11:17 and 34 seconds Central Daylight Time and reappears at 11:45 and 39 seconds Central Daylight Time. A picture of Venus next to the moon just before daylight occultation was taken by myself on December the 7th, 2015. And if you're not watching the video version of this, you should do so, because we have all sorts of pretty things that's on that video version. Slide master, slide number 23, please. Well, remember, we have a solar eclipse coming up in just a month. 1 month from, yesterday. Wow, yesterday was the month. We're less than a month away from it. A solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, and for a few very lucky people on the Earth, the moon blocks some or all of the sun from our view. Slide number 24. On April the 8th, yep, that's it, is the total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. From the Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out for 3 minutes and 21 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see the stars in the sky, just as if it were evening twilight. Now, the next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas after that will be on July the 9th, the year 2317. Now, there is another total solar eclipse in the United States in about 20 years, but you really want to travel somewhere else to see one? Yes, I will. But this total solar eclipse is a very big deal for us living here in North Texas, because it only happens about once every 300 years here in North Texas. Downtown Dallas hotels have been booked for several months, and around that date of the eclipse, and some downtown of Dallas roads will be closed that day because they're having an eclipse festival. Traffic's going to be crazy that day. The Ennis School District, the Waxahachie School District, the Corsicana School District, and from my understanding that I heard today, Rockwall School District is going to be closed for that day of the eclipse. Interesting. I'll bet more school districts are going to plan for that coming up soon. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 25. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
KI5ZOE.
Hey, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Actually, it's a comment. You mentioned March 24th evening into March 25th is the penumbral lunar eclipse. Also, March 24th is a Mercury elongation in the evening, so that there's very few chances where we can really see Mercury, and that's during the elongation. KI5ZOE.
Actually, the elongations of Mercury, if they occur in late May or June in the evening sky, that's even better. But yes, elongations for Mercury are the best Sometimes in the evening sky, sometimes in the morning sky. Right now it's in the evening sky. We're going to see Venus swing around from the morning sky to the evening sky very soon. Thank you very much for your comment. Let's see now. Oh, there's another person with a question I see in the chat session. Oh, and Greenville and Caddo Mills and Lone Oak ISDs are all closing for the eclipse as well. Come now. If the other person that has a question, please come now. I'm sorry, I guess I must have scared them off. Slide Master, slide number 26. So as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for a world that's the only one where humans live, and until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment in Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up, and this is KF5JHA singing the bass horn, net control, KE5ICX. It's yours for a few minutes anyway.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff, for the very interesting presentation. Got more coming up with Jeff here in a bit. Also want to acknowledge Catherine, KBHAA, who's over in the Anatomy YouTube channel. Anyone else want to join us this evening? Please come to the call sign, phonetically your name and transmission.
K5 JDW with a comment.
K5 JDW. John, go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Probably everybody knows this, but it's really cool to watch. If you watch your computer, DVR, nowadays everybody watches their cell phone at 2 a.m. It'll actually bump up to 3. It'll go 159 and go to 3. It's kind of, big jump, and it's interesting to see on your phone. K5 JDW.
Oh, well, thank you, John. I wondered how that all worked out, but because I'm by that. But I'm glad you're awake and checked that. I bet you also checked to see if the light goes out to your refrigerator and close the door. You gotta kind of do that. But anyway, just here. Next up is space exploration and space history. This is handled by two people. We've got Brenda, WB50ZL, and Kelly, K5CTX. They alternate weeks. So this week it's Kelly, K5CTX. Kelly, what do you have for us tonight?
Hey, Tom, this is K5KTX. Good evening, everyone. Well, a trio of small rovers that will explore the moon in sync with one another are rolling toward launch. Engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California recently finished assembling the robots, then subjected them to a punishing series of tests to ensure they'll survive their jarring rocket ride into space and their travels in the unforgiving lunar environment. Part of a technology demonstration called CADRE, or Cooperative Autonomous Distributed Robotic Exploration, each solar-powered rover is about the size of a carry-on suitcase. The rovers and associated hardware will be installed on a lander headed for the moon's Rainer Gamma region. They'll spend the daylight hours of a lunar day, the equivalent of about 14 days on Earth, conducting experiments by autonomously exploring, mapping, and using ground-penetrating radar that will peer below the moon's surface. The goal is to show that a group of robotic spacecraft can work together to accomplish tasks and record data as a team without explicit commands from mission controllers on Earth. If the project succeeds, future missions could include teams of robots spreading out to take simultaneously distributed scientific measurements, potentially in support of astronauts. Engineers have put in long hours test-driving rovers and working out bugs to finish the hardware, get it through testing, and prepare it for integration with the lander. While the list of tests is extensive, the most brutal involve extreme environmental conditions to ensure the rover can withstand the rigors of the road ahead. That includes being locked in a thermal vacuum chamber that simulates the airless conditions of space and its extreme hot and cold temperatures. The hardware also gets clamped to a special shaker table that vibrates intensely to make sure it will endure the journey out of Earth's atmosphere. Engineers also performed environmental testing on 3 hardware elements mounted on the lander: a base station that the rovers will communicate with via mesh network radios, a camera that will provide a view of the rover's activities, and the deployer systems that will lower the rovers to the lunar surface via a fiber tether fed slowly out from a motorized pool. Meanwhile, engineers working on Cadre's cooperative autonomy software have spent many days in JPL's rocky, sandy Mars yard with full-scale versions of the rovers called development models. With flight software and autonomy capabilities aboard, these test rovers showed they can accomplish key goals for the project. They drove together in formation. Faced with unexpected obstacles, they adjusted their plans as a group by sharing updated maps and replanning coordinated paths. And when one of the rover's battery charge was low, the whole team paused so they could later continue together. The project conducted several drives at night under large flood lamps so the rovers could experience extreme shadows and lighting that approximate what they'll encounter during the lunar daytime. After that, the team performed similar drive tests with flight models, the rovers that will go to the moon, in a JPL clean room. When the spotless floor there proved a bit slippery, a texture different from the lunar surface, the robots got out of formation, but they stopped, adjusted, and proceeded on their planned path. Next, the hardware will shift to intuitive machines for installation on a Nova C lander that will launch atop SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. In space history this week, beginning with March the 3rd, back in 1915, Congress authorized the creation of the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, or NACA, to supervise and direct the scientific study of the problems of flight. The committee sought to coordinate the national development of airplane technology already underway at that time, largely in response to the rapid development of European flight capabilities. During the Cold War, the development began to shift to missile technology and spaceflight, culminating in the establishment of NASA in 1958. The foundations of NASA and the success of its many missions rest squarely on the cornerstone of the NACA's organizational and technical expertise. On March the 5th, back in 1998, scientists announced that the Lunar Prospector spacecraft had found evidence of hydrogen at both poles of the moon, suggesting the existence of water ice. Based on the data collected, researchers hypothesized the amount of water ice mixed into the regolith ranged between 10 to 300 million metric tons. Launched on January the 6th, 1998, Lunar Prospector was designed to answer questions about the moon's resources, structure, and origin. The spacecraft included a neutron spectrometer experiment to detect thermal and epithermal neutrons resulting from normal neutron collisions with hydrogen atoms, an indicator of the presence of water. March the 6th, back in 2015, the Dawn spacecraft went into orbit around Ceres, a dwarf planet in the asteroid belt. Dawn utilized a high-tech ion propulsion system which had allowed it to go into orbit around 2 different celestial bodies, a first for any spacecraft. Dawn had studied Vesta in 2011 to 2012. March the 9th, back in 2011, Space Shuttle Discovery completed her final mission, STS-133, touching down at NASA's Kennedy Space Center at 11:57 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Discovery first launched in 1984, the third shuttle orbiter introduced into the NASA fleet. She flew a total of 39 missions, more than any other shuttle, made more than 5,800 orbits around the Earth, and carried 252 crew members into space. Among those crew members were a number of trailblazers. Eileen Collins became the first female shuttle pilot and commander on Discovery. Bernard Harris became the first African American to perform a spacewalk. Senator Jake Garn became the first sitting member of Congress in space, and Senator John Glenn became the oldest person to fly in space. Discovery was the first shuttle to dock with the International Space Station on STS-86 after the delivery of the Unity module by Endeavour on STS-88. On her final mission, the crew of STS-133, who was Steve Lindsay, Eric Bowe, Alvin Drew, Nicole Stott, Steve Bowen, and Mike Barrett, attached the permanent multi-purpose module to the International Space Station. After retirement, Discovery was delivered to the Smithsonian Institution and is now on display at the National Air and Space Museum. This past week, we have several astronauts celebrating birthdays, beginning with March the 3rd, 1946, James Adamson, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-28 and 43. Also March the 3rd, 1949, Bonnie Dunbar, Space Shuttle missions STS-61A, 32, 50, 71, and 89. Also on March the 3rd, 1949, James Voss, Space Shuttle missions STS-44, 53, 69, 101, and 102 and 105 as part of Expedition 2. On March the 5th, 1962, Robert Kerr-Beam, Space Shuttle missions STS-85, 98, and 116. March the 6th, 1927, Gordon Cooper, who was part of the Mercury Atlas 9 and Gemini 5. And finally, March the 7th, 1936, Lauren Acton, who was on Space Shuttle mission STS-51F. And that's all I've got this evening, Tom. This is K5KTX. Back to you.
And thank you, Kelly, for that presentation. We most appreciate it. This is KE5ITX, and this is Skynet. Next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. So we go back to Chad with a JHA. It is your turn again, KE5ITX.
It is kind of scary every time you pass it over to me, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, Slide Master, that would be Tom. The week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in North Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Puppis, the poop deck. Where's the Puppis? No, it's Puppis. The constellation of Puppis is located in the southern hemisphere. It represents the stern of a ship, Argo, on which Jason and the Argonauts sailed to get the Golden Fleece. Puppis used to be part of a much larger constellation, Argo Novus, before the constellation was divided into several smaller ones. Carina, the keel, Vela, or Vela, the sails, and Puppis, the stern. Puppis is the largest of the three constellations. To find Puppis, start with the belt of Orion. Draw a line to the southeast of the belt, which you should result by running into the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. Keep on going past Sirius to the southeast of that, and you should arrive to the constellation of Puppis. And now, for what I consider, for some people, the most important part of the Skynet, jokes of the week. Slide Master, slide number 28, please. Okay, hold on around your head. It might get kind of windy around here because I'm full of hot air. Where was the captain sent after he hit another ship? Anchor management. Oh, come on, that was good. Why does Norway's ships have barcodes on all the ships? So when they come back to port, they can Scandinavian. How do Viking ships communicate with each other? Norse code. What did the pirate say when his child caught the ship on fire? Let me repeat that. What did the pirate say when his child caught the ship on fire? Arson. Arson? Oh, okay. Why is it that religious ships never make it far from port? Because they're holy. Get it? They're holy? Maybe I should let that joke sink in. I just watched a documentary on how ships are kept together. It was riveting. Slide Master, slide number 29. We actually have some bonus jokes. What kind of ships do vampires like the best? Blood vessels. Why do they call a ship 3.14? Because it's filled with tide rays. Iron. Why do ships have circular windows instead of square ones? Why do ships have circular windows instead of square ones? So that if the window breaks, water doesn't get too square in the face. This is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 2. Asmiska, that's pi Puppis, is a misplacement or mistranslation of another word. The tradition becomes from iota carina, and is derived from the Greek word meaning shield, which may be the reference to the shields that Jason and the Argonauts carried with them on their ship, the Arga. This star is a G-type star or yellow star. It looks yellow in a telescope. Kappa Puppis is a nice double star. It's easy to split. Both appear yellowish, whitish or so. The two stars are so identical in color and brightness that they look like distant set of car headlights. Slide Master, slide number 31. Messier object M46 is a nice open cluster. It's easy to find, as is nearby M47. It is visible to the naked eye from dark sky sites. Both clusters are obvious in the finder scope. M46 fills the field of view in a 25 millimeter eyepiece at 84 power. There are so many stars of varying brightness, but none that particularly stand out, giving the initial impression of somewhat uniform brightness. The planetary nebula NGC 2438 is inside this cluster. Slide Master, slide number 32. M47 is seen from a dark sky site as a bright patch of the Milky Way. Visually, it's a very different cluster than M46. Overall, it's more sparsely populated than M46, but the stars are mostly brighter, and they are more varied in brightness than those of M46. Slide Master, slide number 33. Another Messier object, M93, is easily spotted in a 50 millimeter finder scope as a fuzzy glow near the star that we talked about before as Miska. It is a fairly sparse cluster with stars mostly uniform brightness. There are two stars that are somewhat brighter. One is a blue-white, the other one is noticeably an orange-red. It's a nice, pleasant one to look at. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 34. Now, there's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Puppis the Poop Deck. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs most of which have about 100 objects. So if you observe just 10 different objects in an Astronomical League observing program, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in just about a year. Slide Master, slide number 35, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Puppis the Poop Deck. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next week, it's a twofer. We're going to take a look at Lynx, the wild cat, and Cancer the crab. So this is KF5JHA saying good night, 73, and I'm turning this back into our net control, KE5ICX. Tom, it's yours.
And thank you, Chad. Yep, and KE5ICX. Next segment is mine, time. So let's see here. Space Flight Now launch schedule is where I get all my information. Space, right? We have coming up tomorrow evening, Falcon 9 launch Starlink 6-43 at 7:03 p.m. from Cape Canaveral Spaceport in Florida. Launch another batch of second-generation Starlink P2 mini internet satellites. Falcon 9 space booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. March 12th to 13th, the Electron Owl Night Long will launch from launch at E Complex 1 from the Ohio Peninsula in New Zealand. Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch a dedicated mission to the Japanese Earth Satellite Imaging Company Inspective. The launch of the Strix-3 satellite is the fourth launch of the multi-launch agreement following the Owl's Night in December of 2020. The Owl's Night continues in February 2022, and the Owl spreads with the wing in September of 2022. This will be Rocket Lab's third Electron launch, 2024, and 45th to date. On March 20th, we'll see a launch of the Enroll 123 from Launch Complex 2 of Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch its first mission for the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO, from Launch Complex 2 at NASA's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. NRO 123 mission, also known as Live and Live and Let Fly, was booked as part of the NRO's Rapid Acquisition of Small Rocket contract. It will launch a classified payload to orbit. On March 21st, Soyuz MS-25 will launch from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The rocket will be crewed by with Soyuz MS-25 spacecraft and International Space Station. Carry Russian Commander Oleg Novinsky, Belarusian flight engineer Marina Valeskaya, and NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson to orbit for long-duration flight to the space station. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration. It will dock with the Krikau module 3 hours after liftoff. On its return trip, it will bring back Russian cosmonauts Oleg Kamenenko and Nikolai Shub. April 22nd, we'll see a launch from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. It will be United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket designated AT-085 will launch Boeing CS2 out. You know what? This, I believe, has been delayed until May, but I'll continue to read. It's the 100 Starliner spacecraft on first mission with astronauts known as two-step flight to the International Space Station. The capsule will dock with the space station and return to Earth, landing in the western United States. NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Susie Williams will fly on the mission. The rocket will fly in a vehicle configuration with solid rocket boosters and dual-engine Centaur upper stage. And I'll read one more. We have also in April to be determined from SLC-41 Cape Canaveral, a United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur rocket will launch on the second demonstration flight to the Aerospace Dream Chaser cargo vehicle for the International Space Station. The Dream Chaser is a liquid body resupply spacecraft. They'll launch on top of a rocket will fly in the DC-4L configuration from 4 GEM 63XL solid rocket boosters, a long-length payload fairing, and 2 RL-10 rockets for the Centaur upper stage. Let me go ahead and take additional check-in. If you'd like to join us, please come to your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead and go to Ms. Brenda. What do you have for us on recent astronomical discoveries? WB5OZL from KE5ICN.
Thank you, Tom. This is WB5OZL. The article is entitled Finding New Physics in Debris from Colliding Neutron Stars. Neutron star mergers are a treasure trove for new physics signals with implications for determining the true nature of matter, according to research from Washington University in St. Louis. On August 17, 2017, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, LIGO, I guess that's pronounced LIGO, in the United States, and Virgo, a detector in Italy, detected gravitational waves from the collision of two neutron stars. For the first time, this astronomical event was not only heard in gravitational waves, but it's also seen in light by dozens of telescopes on the ground and in space. Physicist Bhupal Dev in Arts and Sciences used observations from this neutron star merger, an event identified in astronomical circles as GW170817, to derive new constraints on axion-like particles. These hypothetical particles have not been directly observed, but they appear in many extensions of the standard model of physics. Axions and axion-like particles are leading candidates to compose part or all of the missing matter or dark matter of the universe that scientists have not been able to account for yet. At the very least, these feebly interacting particles can serve as a kind of portal connecting the visible sector that humans know much about to the unknown dark sector of the universe. There's good reason to suspect that new physics beyond the standard model might be lurking just around the corner, said Dev, the first author of the study in Physical Review Letters and a faculty fellow of the university's McDonnell Center for Space Sciences. When two neutron stars merge, a hot, dense remnant is formed for a brief period of time. This remnant is an ideal breeding ground for exotic particle production, Dev said. The remnant gets much hotter than the individual stars for about a second before settling down into a bigger neutron star or a black hole, depending on the initial masses, he said. These two particles quietly escape the debris of the collision and, far away from their source, can decay into known particles, typically photons. Dev and his team, including WashU alum Stephen Harris, now NP3M fellow at Indiana University, as well as Jean-Francois Fortin, Kuver Sinha, and Yongxiao Zhang, showed that these escaped particles give rise to unique electromagnetic signals that can be detected by gamma-ray telescopes, such as NASA's Fermi-LAT. The research team analyzed spectral and temporal information from these electromagnetic signals and determined that they could distinguish the signals from the known astrophysical background. Then they used Fermi-LAT data on GW170817 to determine new constraints on the axion-photon coupling as a function of the axion mass. These astrophysical constraints are complementary to those coming from laboratory experiments such as ADMX, which probe a different region of the axion parameter space. In the future, scientists could use existing gamma-ray space telescopes like the Fermi-LAT. Our proposed gamma-ray missions like the WashU-led Advanced Particle Astrophysics Telescope, ADT. Well, it happened again, just like it happened last week. An ad covered up my text. This is ridiculous. Hold on. Okay, it came back. Boy, do I hate pop-ups. Where was I? It's almost done anyway. Extreme astrophysical environments like neutron star mergers provide a new window of opportunity in our quest for dark sector particles like axions, which might hold the key to understanding the missing 85% of the matter in the universe, Jeff said. This work was supported by the Department of Energy's Office of Science. So this is on ScienceDaily.com. Back to that, WB50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX, Skynet. All right, next up is physical satellite patches for the next couple of days. Go ahead and we'll do that. The International Space Station has just one really good path that I can identify. There are partial paths here. There are a number of them. You can go to heavensabove.com, get the information there. Just plug in your latitude, longitude. It's also works for amateur radio satellites as well. In case you find those, no special software required. So on this one we have one on March 13th. Pretty good, minus 3.5 magnitude, 2037 in the evening. Out of the southwest, reaches the highest point 56 degrees at 2040. It'll fall to the northeast at 2042. Next up, Gong, which is the Chinese space station, currently inhabited by 3 Akinaks in orbit. There's 2 good passes. One is on March 10th, one minus a 1.6 magnitude at 2057 in the evening, reaches the highest point at 49 degrees at 2100. It'll fall to the south-southwest at 2100 at 47 degrees. So this one goes into shade, or shadow, I should say. March 11th, following evening, has a good pass, minus 2.2 magnitude at 1956, reaches its highest point at 1959, 78 degrees, and falls to the south. So those are all the passes right there, folks. That's what we got. So let me go ahead and check in. Oh, that's it. If anybody have any questions, had anything wondered about that we can possibly give you an answer to, please come with your call. Are there any questions this evening? Anybody would like to join us that has not done so already? Please come make your call now. Okay, we're going to call it quits. Tonight we had 22 hands participating on the air. And thanks to all who join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9. Astronomy, space, and space. But on this NASA side, there's a limit. Space, this, and all the others in the air see that. If you like to try your hand at this, Internet controls, they send an email to 55fc.org. Well, found in general with Facebook and Facebook, like the website, which is whiskey5friedchicken.org. Complete net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, closing the net at 22:07 local time. And we will see you in about 5 minutes. If you want to stick around, we'll be doing the Afterglow Movie Net, which is real team. That'll be 5 minutes from now. So go powder your noses, come back in 5, or go to bed because you're going to need that extra little bit of sleep. We'll be back in 5. This is KE5ICX.
KE5ICX and 5BB. Tom, I think there's a lot of noise right now at the repeater site. Your signal has been barely making it through the net, but that last transmission, you were weak enough that you dropped out for short amounts of time several times during the transmission. So just want to let you know if there's something you can do to improve your antenna location or increase your power, it would help a little bit. You're just right on the edge. I did not watch the movie, so I'll skip it. See you guys later in 5BB clear. Good night.
Normal state.
All right, thank you, Bill. I power a little bit, I think, but we'll do that. All right, have a good evening. We'll catch you later. This is KE5I.
Yeah, about 90% of your transmission there came through, but there's dropouts from time to time. Like I say, I hear some little buzzing stuff, so I think it's probably noise at the repeater site making weak signals a little bit harder to get through. Anyway, have a good evening. And 5BB is clear.
Bill, there's another station trying to get in. Go ahead.
K5IC.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
The repeater announcement covered up whatever other station was trying to come in there. I believe there was another station. N5BB.
No, it could be my radio. It's doing some funky things. The breaking station, try again.
K5ICX. This is N5WY.
Hey, Joseph, go ahead. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, I hear you just fine. It's been up and down here the last 30 minutes or so. Just wanted to touch base with you and see if that tower's still available.
Yeah, at some point it will be. I'm not sure exactly when we're going to do all the things we're going to do. I got to retire May 1, so after that, it will be sometime after May 1, I'm thinking. I've got time. That's kind of the time frame I'm thinking.
Okay. Well, just let me know. I'll kind of probably not move real fast on this, but that's coming up pretty quick. So let me know when it becomes available, and I'm definitely interested.
That a lot of it has to do with moving and everything else. So there's a lot of moving wheels and all of it, but we'll get there.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for the update, and We'll talk to you later. I'll let you get to the next net. N5WY.
All right, thanks. KT5ICS.
Okay, we're back from our break. We're about to start the Afterglow movie net. This is Brenda, WB50ZL, and I'm taking the net tonight to give Tom's voice a rest, but he'll be here, and he's on stream if you want to watch him, and watch him eat, which is what he's doing right now. So, tonight's movie is called Real Genius. Tom gave his fairly fanciful synopsis of it earlier. I'm going to give you the real one featured in Wikipedia. The CIA has covertly hired Professor Jerry Hathaway at Pacific Technical University to develop the power source for a crossbow, a laser weapon precise enough to commit illegal political assassinations from outer space. Hathaway used his position to recruit brilliant students to do the work for him, but aside from his graduate student, Tony Kent, does not tell them the reason for their research. Hathaway's latest project is genius high school student Mitch Taylor. Despite his youth and inexperience, Hathaway makes Mitch the lead on the project due to his innovative and original ideas in the field of laser physics. Mitch is roomed with Chris Knight, another team member, a legend in the National Physics Club, and one of Mitch's idols. Mitch's ideal of Chris is shattered, however, when Chris turns out to be more of a slacking than a hard-working student. Meanwhile, Hathaway hopes Mitch will encourage Chris to straighten up his act and that their two exceptional minds can develop a broad power source. Mitch also befriends Jordan Cochran, a hyperactive insomniac student for whom he gradually develops romantic feelings. With the deadline quickly approaching, Mitch feels the pressure to complete the project while Chris continues in his carefree attitude. After he invites Mitch to a pool party, Kent reports this to Hathaway, who lambasts Mitch. Mitch breaks down and tearfully calls his parents, telling them he wants to come home. Kent secretly records the call and later plays the recording over the school's public PA system, humiliating Mitch. As Mitch begins packing to leave, Chris explains the pressures of school and burdens of being highly intelligent by relating the history of former Pacific Tech student Laszlo Holyfield. Laszlo cracked under the pressure and now lives in the university's tunnels that access beneath Chris and Mitch's closet. Chris, fearing the same thing could happen to him, learned to lighten up and enjoy life. Mitch acquiesces to stay, and they exact revenge on Kent by disassembling his car and reassembling it in his dorm room. Hathaway, angry about the still incomplete project and Chris's attitude, informs Chris that he intends to fail him in his final course needed for graduation and will give a coveted after-graduation job originally promised to Chris to Kent instead, as well as take steps to ensure Chris will never find work in the field of laser physics. Chris is disheartened, and Mitch must use Chris's same argument to convince him to stay. The two commit to finishing the 5-megawatt laser so Chris passes Hathaway's final exam. Kent sabotages their latest, nearly successful apparatus. Though Chris knows Kent destroyed the laser, he can do nothing about it and is left to brood over the injustice. This inspires him to come up with a whole new system. The new solution works flawlessly, impressing Hathaway. He congratulates Chris and assures him that he will graduate. Chris and Mitch leave and celebrate, but Laszlo arrives, telling them he'd begun hiding out once he discovered his earlier work had been used in military applications that caused deaths, and raises suspicions regarding the possible uses of such a laser. Realizing he is right, they return to the lab, but all the laser equipment has already been removed by Hathaway. Jordan, now working with the friends as well as his project member Ikegami, surreptitiously implants a radio transmitter in Kent's braces, which Mitch uses to convince him he is speaking to Jesus. Kent divulges the date of the test, and the group Tails Hathaway to learn the location of the Air Force Base where the equipment has been installed on a B-1 bomber. Chris and Mitch speak into the airbase and reprogram the coordinates of the target to Hathaway's home where they go to set up a small prism. The boys gather with Jordan and Ick outside Hathaway's home to watch as another school professor and a congressman arrive, having been told of the test. Kent arrives and goes inside to spot a warning from Jesus. The laser test begins, and a very large bag of popcorn, which Hathaway tests, is heated by the laser refracted from the prism, filling the house entirely and causing it to burst at the seams. Kent is launched out the front door on a popcorn wave. Laszlo arrives in an RV, which he has won using mathematics in a blind sweepstakes contest, to tell him he is leaving while neighborhood children play in the popcorn. Hathaway arrives afterwards to see what has become of his house. All right. We're going to do this our usual format. We'll start with the plot, and then characterization, and then special effects or music or whatever else you want. Okay, I'll now take short time check-ins, or low power and short time check-ins. Please come now with your name, your call sign, name, and location. Please come.
Well, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray. Louisville, facility check. And I got popcorn while you were talking.
I hope you're not short time. KE5ICX, Tom, welcome to the net. And we're going to be talking about popcorn later in the in this net. There was some research done on this, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Do we have any more check-ins of any kind now?
Well, that wasn't me. November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Bird City, or Dallas, whatever.
Corn.
Kilo India 5, Romeo Tango Mike. My name is John. I'm from Grapevine.
Okay, we have November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Bird City. Actually, about the time the city of Dallas was founded, there was a community, a tiny community in Fort Worth called Bird's Fort. It was actually just a fort. And it could have just as easily have been as big as Dallas if things had gone differently. And it would be very interesting. And then I have, I think it's KE5 Romeo India Mike Doc. Please correct me if that's wrong.
Kilo India 5, Romeo Tango Mike, named John from Grapevine.
Hey, I forgot to ask if the movie. November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia. I saw the movie. I have popcorn. Check in. Go ahead.
lettuce, tomato, Bill. I wish I had popcorn. I did see the movie, and I'm eating a chocolate brownie, so, but no popcorn.
Brownies. And did you bring enough for everybody?
There is one large pan here at W5DLT. Back to net control.
That should be enough. Okay. Any more check-ins? Well, we can get some more check-ins later, perhaps. So we're going to start with your opinions about the plot. And for once, K5ICX gets to be first. So, Tom, what do you think about the plot of this wonderful movie?
Okay, well, everybody, I guess, has seen this movie except me. I saw it for the first time last night. Saw it with you guys while we were, chatting, watching it simultaneously over on YouTube. And I thought, first off, I'm sure this is just a riff off of Animal House to sort of present a little more of a brainiac look to it. And it was okay. I probably, my stuff, you remember I'm older than some of the folks here. So my formative years were more like the 70s, and my favorite television and movies came from the 60s. So I don't have quite the same affection as somebody who may have grown up or, I don't know. So I don't have quite that connection that you would have with that. And certainly movies that I've seen from that people wouldn't understand affection for it. So I was a little confused in that. For me, personally, I thought it was entertaining. It was an interesting film. I thought kind of the craziness that went along with it was a little long. There were too many of the wild party things going on. And also the storyline, I think, could have actually used a little more of the science part. It's fun, but I think it's designed and was meant for, the teen audience, so it wasn't really required to do something like that. So I think the plot was a little bit on the thin side for me. Maybe more, I don't know, stuff that would usually build something like this. With the military involved and shenanigans with that. It might have worked a little more, I would think. I thought the guy in the closet was kind of fun, although where he ends up is a bit over the top, a bit crazy, not very logical, but okay. I think, although we talk about characters, Kilmer handled and carried the role quite well with what he was doing. I think that's what kept me interested in the film. If it weren't for him, I probably would have fallen asleep earlier than I did. The finale was fun, and it was an interesting idea, and going in program to prom and all that. Actually, something probably would have happened in 1985. I know all about that, so yeah, that was kind of cute. Let's see, what else? I don't know, I'll leave it at that right now. I guess I've got more to say about the technical aspects of it, but there you go. Back to Brenda, KD5.
gravity is being very uncooperative right here, right now. Just jerked my phone off the desk to check on it. NT5TM, Tony, what do you think about the plot?
Well, thank you. I would have to say simplistic but fun. I mean, it is, it's like a toned-down version of Animal House, as Aaron said, but with more nerds, and that's okay, because nerds are a real part of college life, and certainly was one, and I'm still one now. It is pretty, shocking. You grew up thinking, oh, I'm going to learn all this stuff, and then suddenly, knowledge has consequences. Oh, they're going to use this stuff to, kill people or shoot people or something? That's not so good. So, but realistic and fun, and I certainly enjoyed the movie. Oh, yes, and I was walking with Aaron and I don't have any popcorn right now. But I love the popcorn. As the Mythbusters showed, that popcorn probably can't break windows. Still, popcorn is tasty, and you totally can pop it with lasers. It just apparently can't muster enough pressure to actually break windows. Still, man, he totally that. It's his idea.
Thank you, Tony. Into 5 p.m. Next dot, K5 Romeo Tango Mike. I assume you saw the movie. What do you think of the plot? Well, nothing heard. We will come back to him in a bit and see. November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia. What did you think of the plot?
Well, I'm in about the same era as Tony, so this is a movie that brings back a lot of good memories. A lot of people my age watched this over and over in the summertime on cable. I really think this movie has a pretty good mix of everything. The plot is definitely common of that era. Lots of mid-'80s comedies and some more serious movies like War Games talked about these topics. Short Circuit was one of these movies. We watched that one last year. And this movie was made by TriStar, and it actually has a pretty similar flavor. I never saw Animal House because it's definitely not my cup of tea. I know this is kind of a post-Animal House thing, but if it were anything close to Animal House, I wouldn't have been able to watch it. So I would say that's a very loose connection. The college movie genre, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, those kind of things. It was definitely a thing. Let's get a bunch of teenagers or kids together to get teenagers into the movie theaters. We'll see how much we can do and still get a PG rating. But I thought the plot was good. I think it had just enough science. If it had been too sciencey, it might have pleased, us as uber nerds, but the rest of people would have probably been kind of bored with it. I think it did enough explanation of the science. It did enough with the science that it got me more interested in those kind of things, and it might have done that to some other people. There might be some people that are in science today because of this movie. I think it made college seem, interesting and even exciting for someone who's smart to go and be with other smart people. I thought the whole smart people on smart people sort of rivalry thing was interesting because when you're a nerd, you think of like you're nerds are like, it's the nerds versus everybody else, and that's usually how 80s movies were, but this was a school where everybody was a nerd, so it was interesting to see like two packs of nerds kind of going at it. I thought that was kind of interesting, and then sort of then all of them realizing that their professor was taking advantage of them, and the way everybody kind of made amends at the end, and the bad guy got his just desserts, and the project was scuttled by the smart kids, and I thought they threw in just the right amounts of technology and fun and lots of reversals. I thought the plot was not thin at all. I think it's a pretty rich plot. It's got lots of reversals in it. Just when you think, oh, they've beaten the problem, they've developed this laser, they're all excited, and then Laszlo comes along and kind of lets them know, hey guys, this is not something practical. Like, there's no good reason why your professor would want you to have this thing done by a certain time. And I thought the whole subplot with him in the steam tunnel, the end of it for him, his end bit is, I think, convincing in that the whole movie starts with Chris Knight going to the job interview and meeting the lady Sherry, who's got the hots for smart guys, and she's been looking for this guy who's hiding down in the steam tunnels. She's been looking for him, for 10 years, and she's finally found him. She's been going from smart guy to smart guy, and never satisfied, I guess, and because really deep down she wants to meet this Laszlo character, and so I thought that was a cute ending for him. And I thought the little romance between Mitch and Jordan was cute, and I just thought it had a lot of neat little subplots that all twisted together. I liked the way it was put together, and it's amazingly it's kind of a complex plot. And just when you think, oh, we're winding down, here's another reversal, and now they've got to do this whole big final thing, to get the bad guys, and the thing with the transceiver and Kent. And I know this movie so well. I've seen it so many times, so I can talk about it in detail. But I've always liked this movie, and I think it's just about right. It's one of those movies that in my mind is, it would be hard for me to playing. I'll get to characters next time. So back to net, NV5F.
Thank you, Virginia. W5BLT, Bill, what do you say about characters?
Okay, well, I'll go with the plot first because I think that's what you meant. You know what? Okay, so I don't know how I missed this in the 80s. I think I briefly started watching it, but it didn't seem, I don't know, it didn't catch my interest. And then I watched it, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. It did kind of have, like, I suppose, it's Animal House kind of thing to it. But then I found the script online, and I read the script. And so, for me, being blind, I think it added a whole lot more to the movie, because just the dialogue for me, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of there, but I wasn't. But with the script and the scenery described, and then I went back and watched it again, and I actually liked it. Now, it wasn't one of those movies that I could say, yeah, I love this movie, and I'd watch it, 10 times. But it did kind of bring back some memories, from growing up in the 80s. The plot, yeah, we've seen the plot. It's a simple kind of thing, nerds and military using the nerds for their own interests, and a bad guy corrupting and corrupted and taking advantage of kids. And we've seen the plot of nerds and being in college. It did kind of have a little bit of different twist to it. And I love the ending, especially after reading the description from the movie script. And that's usually where I go to. I'll be honest with you, I didn't like Alien when it first came out, and I watched it, and I found the movie script online, and I got hooked. So, I think that's some of the things where if there's some visual jokes and things, or when you don't know what the scenery is and action's happening, then getting the movie script to fill that in really helps. And so I have to say I enjoyed it. Probably would have enjoyed it with descriptive video if I had seen it the first time with that. So, first I didn't really like the movie, didn't like the plot, but after getting a lot of things filled in, and then I thought, it's not too bad. W5 BLT.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more check-ins?
KJ5EYK, Alex and Alex.
Almost unreadable. Could you go very slowly and phonetically?
Echo, Kilo, Juliet, 5, Echo, Yankee, Kilo, Alex from Allen.
Okay, I got Kilo, Juliet, 5, Echo, Yankee, Kilo, and missed your name, and tell me if that's the right call sign.
Wow, I got through to somebody finally. Yes, it is, actually, Alex, and I'm super excited. First time I've actually got to talk on the air.
Oh, that is super. Well, welcome to the net. We're talking about the movie Real Genius. Do you have anything to say about that?
It's the one I'm thinking of where they blow up the house of popcorn at the end. That was a fun movie back in the day. Right out of my childhood in the mid-'80s.
Okay, are you done?
Done.
Alrighty. Well, I guess it's my turn. This was fun. So much fun. I missed it in 1984, or I think it was 85. And I know why, because my kids were 3 and 8, and mostly we went to movies that they could enjoy, which there were plenty at the time. We saw Top Gun the next year. They thought it was the best thing ever, but that's the kind of movie they'd like. I was afraid this maybe just have too much dialogue or be too, not be silly enough for a couple of young boys. So I never saw it at the time. And I really enjoyed it. You just have to, embrace the silly part of yourself for this. There's a lot of stupidity in terms of technology, a lot of plot holes. That's okay. It was fun, and that's all that matters. Just having a real good time with it. Although I did, the plot wasn't bad. It was sufficiently complex to keep your interest, but we all know what it is. It's a popcorn movie, and there's nothing really profound here. It's just a fun romp, and that's just fine. All right, I'm going to go now to characterization, and we're going to start at the top. KE5ICX. Tom, what do you say?
right, thank you, Brenda. This is KP5 ICS. Well, of course, Val Kilmer killed it. He nailed it. His kryptonite character was quite entertaining. Maybe a little over the top, but that was the way of his design. That's over the top. So he was fun to watch on screen. I think more so than just about everybody else. Mitch, Gabrielle Jarrett as Mitch, he actually was close second. A nice character. I liked her a lot. Was a likable character. Parts of her hyperness and how that was pretty cool. I thought that was a lot of fun. Everybody else pretty much played this stereotypical role. Lazaro was good, played by John Green. That was fine. But all the other characters, we've seen them before. Now, there was, at the very beginning, there was the, I guess it's called shuttle pilot safety Peralta. And I saw that guy faces and looked familiar. He looked familiar. So I saw his name in the credits, and I went back and I looked, and I went, I do know this guy. Not by name, but I do know him by his work. This was his first sort of act that was very well received, and he was also involved with Dogtown and the Decoys, which is the documentary that Lords of Dogtown was actually based on. He was involved with both of those, so he had kind of this, I don't know if you call it a cameo role, he wasn't known, but he went on to do a lot of production work after this, directing and that, so he was, one of those people that you see, you go, oh, this guy somewhere, and I couldn't remember where, and it was from both those movies. So at any rate, and some of his other work is less known, but it's kind of commercial, like Puppis and that. He had a successful career. So just a kind of a side light. Everyone else, it was okay. Kind of Animal House. So I guess that's all I got. Back to you, Brenda, KT5 ICS.
Very good. NT5 TM, Tony, what do you think about the characters? Well, Tony must have stepped away. We'll come back to him. KE5 RTM. Doc, are you there? We missed you last time. Okay, November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia.
Okay, well, yeah, these characters were stereotype 80s movie characters. There were a lot of real tropey things they did in summer teenager movies. You have the flamboyant character, Val Kilmer. I think this was only his second major movie he was in. He had been the lead in Top Secret a couple years before this, and then he got this one. And so he's still not terribly well known, but he definitely rose to fame. He was in Top Gun the next summer. But yeah, he was great. It was very suited his personality to be this guy that you could believe was kind of a reformed dweeb, who realized, hey, I don't have to be uptight. So you can kind of believe that. I mean, he's such a outgoing, sort of handsome, blonde-haired fellow that you can kind of believe it if you just, I don't know. It's kind of hard to picture him in Hush Puppies and carrying a briefcase. Mitch, the kid who played Mitch, he did very good. He was just the right actor for that role, just the right age, just the right stature and demeanor. worked really well in that role. They didn't go with the big stereotype of him wearing glasses or, you know, dressing terrible or anything. He was just this very straight-laced kid who was really smart and conscientious, and, you know, innocent. And I liked the Jordan character. You got to have the quirky girl character, and she was great for that. And I loved how she and Mitch connected, and how Mitch stood his ground when he was when the predatory woman Sherry was trying to take advantage of him. I really liked his character, you know. And that's the thing I liked in this movie, is that it had that college flavor, but it never crossed any lines of decency or you know, anything. The characters were all interesting enough, and you could tell them apart, which is, I know, one of Brenda's big pet peeves, when you can't tell characters apart. There were a lot of characters in here. We had, you know, Chris Knight's little posse of people, and then Kent and his group, and they were, you know, they were distinctive enough from each other. And Kent with his big Coke bottle glasses and his Dickies, and you know, always trying to kiss up to Professor Hathaway, who was the guy. He was in a lot of stuff in the mid-'80s. He played the EPA guy in Ghostbusters the year before, and he went on to play the bad guy, or it's kind of the antagonistic news reporter in Die Hard. He played a lot of those kind of roles. He was really good at just being, you know, like, he was just really easy to hate. And, you know, you got the old college professors, and you had the military guys, and you had the tech, you know, corporate tech guys, and it was super over the top, and you know, and then you had the Laszlo Holyfeld, the real fish out of water, shy, recluse guy, you know, and not played in any way that was, you know, he was not played like a pathetic, you know, Boo Radley sort of guy or anything. He was just kind of this weird guy, you know, who would go, you know, ask people if they needed to borrow his pajamas. You know, he was just really, really off the wall, but not threatening at all. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't really like Edward Scissorhands or anything. You know, he was just this nice, you know, sort of gentle guy who, you know, just wanted to use his brains to win the Frito-Lay sweepstakes. He was giving into the materialistic needs of the mid-'80s. You know, happy ending. People got together. They you know, Kid became kind of likable at the end when they convinced him that Mitch was Jesus talking through his braces, and the popcorn, and, you know, his kind of comedy of, you know, kind of surfing out of the house on a big mound of popcorn. He did good, you know, physical comedy, and I think all the actors were likable. They worked in their roles. The characters were generally likable. I just felt like it was. And of course, I have an affinity for this movie that's good memories plus. But I think I can be objective about things, even ones I liked in childhood. And I think of this genre of movie, it did a good job of having likable characters, bad guys that were just bad enough. You know, it was played very broad. Nobody got too serious. It never got dark. It never got angry or moody or unpleasant. And I think that I've always loved real genius. Back to NV5F.
Well, looks like I dozed off for just a bit. Let's see. KJ5EYK, Alex, I think you would be next.
I remember that film now that I think about it. It's good times. The characters are pretty believable back in the time period. Very much a hero production of what happened. You got all the comic characters in there. I do remember that now that I think about it, it was filmed in Caltech, and I spent some time up there many years ago, so I met a lot of people that were like that. Very fun film. I enjoyed it. Back to that.
Alrighty, my apologies for losing track here. I work today and get up. I have to be there at 8, so I have to get up pretty early, and it's getting late, but we'll hang on for a minute. Any more check-ins now? Well, of course, Val Cal is as cute as a puppy. I did not see Top Secret at the time. We got a copy of it a few years later. My kids watched it so many times I knew the entire dialogue. And of course, Top Gun was the year after. He definitely has star power, and was really good at this. I didn't have that college experience, but I think it does happen. We had a couple of friends who were ham radio operators and were college students, and they were always at war with some of the other people in their dorm, and they were doing these high-tech pranks that just amazed me because they were so. And so it was really funny, the stuff that they thought up. It was like this. And it makes me think of Revenge of the Nerds in A Little Animal House. The college movie genre, which we all hate to laugh at because it makes us feel less than elevated. That's okay. It was really a pretty wholesome movie on the whole compared to some of the other things that have come around. But the two main characters were just perfect. Well, everybody in it was pretty good. A lot of them I had never seen or heard of before. Mitch, he was only in a few other things, and then if you look him up on Wiki, his occupation is actor and American Sign Language interpreter. And all the movies he was in, mostly it was either very minor characters or something I never heard of. So, but he's 54 now, golly. And poor Val Kilmer is really in bad health, which I'm sure you know if you saw the last Top Gun. But that's what happens. Age takes its toll on people, and it's sad, but Val Kilmer really had a lot of good roles. His filmography is huge, and he definitely owns the stage. All right, let's circle back. We're going to talk about special effects, music, anything you want. K5ICX, Tom.
Hey, Brenda. By the way, thanks for doing me next night. I know it's a lot of work. I fall asleep quite frequently. It's fine still, so it's okay. The basic specs, you gotta know it's 1985. However, we've had Star Wars and Star Trek and everything else that's come out since then, and the effects have been pretty good. This one, I thought, at least the initial cartoon was too extreme, kind of weirdish, dimensional. So we get the B-1 and the shuttle, the Air Force shuttle thing at the very beginning. It didn't look as good as it could have. It didn't look as bad, but it was not anything that looked like a couple of models, which they were. And that's okay, I guess. Some of the more interesting things I thought were the equipment. At the end, the credits did show that the lasers they had, now I'm sure they were enhanced optically in post-production, but the lasers are legitimate lasers that were used at the time. And, I had an opportunity to play with those type of lasers in a college setting, by the way, doing 3D stills with glass photography plates. It was quite fascinating, really rather cool. It was really neon, essentially. It became cool. So that was realistic. The splitting and optics and all that stuff was interesting, and I think they just come from that laser house that provided all that stuff. So, or the optics house, whoever it was. So it was kind of cool. Some of the other equipment there, some oddball stuff that you would expect you to pick up from Woody's Hollywood Props or whatever at the time they were time appropriate. So it looked fine. Some of the silliness that went into creating sets the way they were okay. Like the ice, the sublimation, the gas, all that. How they did that, we'll never know. How they got the cars, the room, the dorm room, we'll never know. Although I think was the Caltech where they used to do all of the, or UCLA or something, where they used to do all the shenanigans and move things to highly improbable places. Still to this day don't know how they did it. I'm sure that's where that inspiration came from. But it would have been kind of cool to find out how that happened. But that would ruin the fun. So at any rate, those were the things I saw. Other than that, music was minimal. I was surprised. Thomas Newman from the Newman Clan got used very little in the film. Most of it was pop music, which was very popular in the 84. So it was fine. I think Thomas Newman was a great talent, and he got understood. So, everything else looked fine overall. Pretty quality. Down to the graphics. That was okay. So that's it. That's all I had, really. I don't have a lot more to add to special effects. Back to you from the K5 IC.
Alrighty, Tony, NT5TM, what would you like to talk about?
Well, good evening. I think we've been on a long walk here, and I'm finally back out of the hole. Oh, good. I got a bubble up there from the repeater, so I must be home. Aaron would like to particularly single out Val Kilmer. I think the casting there was really great with the older guy who looked like a grad student, the younger guy who really did look like he was 15. And I'm just so sleepy. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go to bed in just a minute here. Yep, enjoyed the movie tremendously, and sorry I missed the previous round. I'm really sad that it was proved that popcorn can't really break open windows, but I really, really enjoyed the idea of the giant bursting ball of popcorn instead of the giant ray of death laser. So, yeah, it's late. I'm sorry I'm not more intelligent. NT5TM.
Yeah, if you look on Wikipedia, there were some experiments with lasers and popcorn to demonstrate that actually the popcorn could not tear the house apart. It just didn't have strength. But you could pop popcorn with a laser, which I think would be the coolest thing in the world. I think it would be a good Ronco product, something in your home to enhance your geekiness, popping your popcorn with your home laser. Okay, next, KE5RTM. I don't know if you're still here. Doc, are you still online here? Okay, Virginia, NV5F. What say you?
Okay, thank you, Brenda. First, I think that when we did the character round, that we skipped over Bill. So before I say what I have to say, maybe check back with Bill about characters. I think he might have some stuff to say in V5F.
Well, okay, W5BLT, Bill, I'm very sorry. I have a check by your name that shows I did, but doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. Talk about anything you want to talk about, Bill.
Okay, I'll just make it real quick because I was just going to combine my two, if that's okay. I like the characters. I was uncomfortable with where they were going to go with the Mitch and Sharon scene, but it was pretty cool that he refused, and so that was a good scene. And then the other thing that I liked, so that turned out to be, because at first I'm going, okay, where are you guys going with this? But then the other thing, I liked the parents. I thought the parents of Mitch were kind of funny. The dad's concerned if he's getting a signing bonus and wanting food. And the mom's all worried about her son going off to college. And so it kind of reminded me a little bit of my own, as my parents and I were looking for a college for me to go to. And so that was kind of cool. The girl that kept knitting everything, I thought that was pretty funny as well. There wasn't anybody that I didn't like in the movie. So it's kind of a fun movie. And again, I always go back to this. We didn't have Twitter or, all these other apps, Facebook and things to distract us. So it was just going to the movies with friends or having people come over. I can remember when we got our first VCR and we'd have people come over and you'd watch kind of movies like this. I like the music at the end, of course, with the Tears for Fears and the whole popcorn scene. Nothing really on special effects, but again, I did get a lot out of with the laser and how they run the wall and things like that. And so some of that would be missed for me. Just having the dialogue. So it really helped to have the movie script from online with the text of the scenery and the dialogue, so that everything fit together. And so I like that scene. Of course, the popcorn blowing the rope off the house, and having it in the pool with with the foil on it and stuff. So all that was good. And again, while the effects may not have been up to par with some of the other movies, I don't have the scripts for. So for me, this was kind of a neat movie to watch after reading the script and then going back and watching it again. So that's all I got. I appreciate you doing the net as well, W5BLT.
Okay, thank you. All right, Alex, KJ5EYK, talk about anything you want to talk about.
You always run film, as you said. I have to sign off. What's the film for next week so I can watch it?
Okay, well, Tom, you want to tell us that, and then I'll make my final comments.
will be... Okay, this one will be Beginning of the End from 1958 science fiction film. That's all I can tell you for now. 85 ICX.
NV5F.
NV5F, go ahead.
Yeah, I still need to make my third round comment whenever you can fit me in.
Oh, I thought you were finished and
No, I had wanted to make sure Bill got his turn on characters, and so I was going to wait for him to do his, and I didn't get to say mine yet, so I'll say my third round comments. Yeah, this was a mid to low budget film for the day, and was definitely not meant to be a big effects picture. Effects were definitely necessary for the technology and the space stuff, and I think they were appropriately a little cheesy. I did like that they used a lot of real lasers, especially in the scene where they were bouncing the laser all over the campus. I'm sure they had to put a lot of particulate matter into the air so you could see the laser. But I thought that was cool. Where they, in the whatever effect they had to use to make it look like the laser had made big holes through everything, was awesome. Popcorn, practical effects on popcorn. I'm not sure how they did that. I'm sure there was some models involved, and yeah, I could see why popcorn wouldn't be able to really destroy a house. The popcorn itself would probably just compact inside the house versus tearing it up. But still kind of a fun ending. I liked the music. I liked the pop music they chose, and it seemed that the score of the movie built in confidence, grew in confidence as the movie went on. They would use it for kind of intense scenes when they were working in the lab, and then gradually it was used for montages later. A lot of the score was over montages of complicated things being done. There were quite a few montages, but that was common in the music video era. So yeah, the movie itself just looked good. The overall feel of it was good. The pacing was good. The music was. I really liked some of the soundtrack music. It was all sort of synth or pop oriented, and I thought it suited the film. An orchestral, a sort of, emotive orchestral score wouldn't have really suited this. And I want to reiterate what Bill said, and it was something I had mentioned about characters. I liked that this got on the edge of being mature, but it was held back to the point where younger people could enjoy it, and nobody's ethics or morals were compromised, and it went right on the edge of maybe a little bit of awkward stuff, but I found it to be very palatable, and I've got a very sensitive taste in that department, so this would not be one of my favorites if it were in any way really Animal House-like. I would not have been able to stomach it. So I think it's a cute movie. It's fun. It kind of holds up. The story's tight enough and interesting enough, and I'll end there. Thanks for running the net in V5F.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I don't have a whole lot to say in the end. I hope they didn't get in trouble for destroying a house or sabotaging a B-1 bomber. I'm sure it'll all work out in the end. It seemed like everybody was happy. the end, and except I don't think Val Kilmer's character is going to get his job that he was expecting, since his who knows what's going to happen to that professor. But yeah, I'd recommend it to anybody for just a popcorn movie. It was fun and very watchable. So, do we have any minutes, any more check-ins? Well, we're wrapping it up a little bit early tonight.